Cosmic Star Heroine is a science fiction RPG created by The Boyd Games. It was released in April 2017 for PlayStation 4 and PC, and the Switch version, the one that I played for this review, was released on August 2018. The game was part funded through a Kickstarter campaign in 2013, raising almost $133,000. The game has retro visuals and gameplay and was inspired by classics such as Phantasy Star, Final Fantasy, and Chrono Trigger. Like some other indie RPGs from this generation, Cosmic Star plays on the nostalgia of older classics and tries to revive the essence of those games, but on updated mechanics. The problem with the majority of these games is that they try too hard to mix all these influences and end up having no real identity. In a way, Cosmic Star Heroine is a victim of its own premise. Starting with visuals, the game seems to be a mixture of old classics, especially Phantasy Star with its futuristic setup and landscapes, but it also incorporates a darker, more polluted tone that can be noticed in the colors palette. I like the visuals, especially the character designs. The scenarios are well built, and during the game there are some nice anime-like cutscenes. I only wish that the characters were a little bit bigger in the screen and the cutscenes had a better resolution. Maybe they are trying to replicate what was done in the 16-bit era in Sega CD, but I think they could have kept the art design but increased the resolution. The soundtrack is fine. There is a lot of electronic music and overall the compositions are well done. They are more like musics composed to be listened while playing than musics I could listen all day. They fit the game purpose, but in my opinion there is nothing memorable here, although I know some people that really like the soundtrack. The gameplay is heavily inspired by Chrono Trigger, but also has influences of some modern games such as Mass Effect. As Chrono Trigger, you see the enemies in the field, and most of the time you have the option to battle or not. The battle is turn-based, and you can choose 4 out of 11 total characters to form your party. As you progress during the game, new people will join your cause, and some of them are available during certain parts of the game. Although the battles are turn-based, the battle mechanics seems to have been inspired by some Western RPGs such as Diablo, Baldur's Gate, and Mass Effect. Your attacks will be based on abilities that you obtain as you level up. After you use them, they will be unavailable until you spend one turn to defend, which will restore them. Only few of them can be reused multiple times without recharging, and they are the closest to what would be the attack option in your standard RPG. There are different types of abilities, and each of them has its unique status. You can also combine the abilities between characters to unleash a more powerful movement. There is another variable during the battles called style. The more your style meter increases, the more powerful your attacks will be. The idea is good, but in the end, during the battles, it makes almost no difference which ability you're going to use, and there is a lot of overlapping amongst them. For me, the battle system requires almost no strategy. Choose whatever ability you want and continue to do this until the enemy dies. The equipment setup is another weak point of this game. Each character can equip weapon, shield, and accessories. The differences are too shallow, and I usually just pick the one with better status. To be honest, some of them give different special abilities, but as I mentioned, as they are all too similar, they really don't make too much difference in the gameplay. Now, the thing that I dislike most about the battle in general is that the life of the enemies is almost infinite. Any battle, from the most insignificant enemies to the bosses, takes forever because you have to deal a lot of damage to kill the enemy. When I say a lot, guys, believe me, it's really a lot. Because of it, all the problems that I just mentioned become much more evident. By the end of the game, I was really bored every time I had to fight an enemy, and I tried to avoid them the most I could. Cosmic Star Heroine tells the story of Alyssa Lissal, a top agent of a secret agency for peace. During the first mission, you discover some type of conspiracy and decide to desert and fight against it. And as the game progresses, you'll be joined by 10 other characters. Each of them will play a different role in the story. For me, The story of Cosmic Star Heroine is a big letdown. It starts really strong, but it completely loses relevance as it progresses. There are some reasons for it. The first one is pacing. Cosmic Star Heroine is a 12-hour long game, which is a short time for RPG. In my opinion, this is not a problem as long as you know how to pace the story and have a very well defined scope, which is the second issue. In 12 hours, the game tries to present an epic dark twist conspiracy and introduce 10 playable characters. In the end, it fails to make any of it relevant. The conflict, which seems to be very complex and critical in the beginning, is resolved in a very uninteresting way, and to make things worse, the game doesn't take the time to provide the background of the characters in a way that the player creates any type of connection with them. Although the design and high-level description of the characters are very interesting, you end up with a bunch of flat people in your party, which you couldn't care less. This is sad because I really think that the creators wanted the characters and their story to be relevant. If the idea was to make a shorter game, which again is no problem, be it by premise or budget restriction, it should have been better to make a story more focused on Alisa and explore better her background. What drives her to decide to leave the corporation? What is the impact of those events on her life? How she feels about it? Why is she so dedicated to this cause? These are questions that could have been much more explored. Also, what is the point to have so many characters if they can make them relevant enough to create a minimal connection with the player? I really wanted this game to be great and maybe eventually be a spiritual successor of Phantasy Star. But unfortunately, it fails in the two most important aspects of RPGs, the story and the battle system. I really had big hopes for this game, but in the end to me, it was nothing special, just a common game. It can be fun, as long as you can live with the repetitive battles and don't care too much about the story. Maybe this is a game that you could pick during a sale to see if it resonates more with you than it did with me.